All right, good evening for most of us. It's the 25th, Monday. Paul's early morning for him. So uh, tonight we will have Jim Saraceno tying up the fox squirrel nymph. I put out some of the materials out there, so hopefully you had a chance to get out there. Things that are coming up, I'll go over some of the program stuff. Headquarters has our orders for all the stuff we need for JB, and they are processing it. So hopefully we'll get that soon. And then I will get with Ken and we'll try to pick a date and get back to JB. So things are at least moving forward on that front. Hopefully we'll get our stuff soon. Where is the other one? Okay, the other one, Frank isn't on, but we picked a new date for October, where we're going to meet at the American Legion Post like we did last time. This time it's going to be Saturday, the 21st October, from noon to 3. And so we'll do it a little bit later. That way Scott could still make it. And I haven't seen, that's another person we're missing is Lee. I'll have to get a hold of Lee and make sure he's okay and get him out here as well. Things going on. This Sunday is one of our big events. It's for Scott's doing the Union Vets Fishing Day in Union. We're there, we're prepping up for this. Scott, you got everything you need, or if you need more flies or anything?
No, I'm good on that. we got a little sample bag in everybody's swag bag.
Okay, so
we got an area set up for you that's got a little distance, so if you want to teach people how to do whatever and you still got access to the water.
Cool. So I'll have some program rods out there. We could teach some fly casting or fly rod casting. I'll have my travel bag that we were just talking about, and also I'll be able to tie up some flies, kind of show people what we do. Maybe I'll even bring one of my rods that I built, show them that we do rod building as well. I'll have a table and our pop-up and a sign. It sounds like there's already going to be food there, so should be a good time. I'll be there a little bit early, or probably a lot early, because I always worry about not having enough time to set up, but I'll be there, make sure we're all set up before the event starts. But that'll be a good time.
We're going to be there at 7.
7, then I'll be there at 7. So I'll actually be coming in. There's another event going on that's I'll be coming in from Bennett, so I'll be coming in the other direction. That Saturday, which is the 30th, is Women's Fish Free at Bennett. And so that's something that 2 of our volunteers like doing, Margie, my wife, and then Tom and Kathy. Kathy is they're at Bennett right now, so we kind of support them for their women's fishing free day. So we go out there to help them and all that. So I'll be driving in from Bennett that early morning. So, but again, they have that on Saturday if you want. Then after that, 2 weeks after that is the 14th and 15th, and I was saying at Bennett is the Clarence Holland Derby. If you're interested in that, that's always a fun time, because it's the only time Bennett will actually tag fish that I know of, where you could kind of win some prizes, and the prizes are all donated by Jim Rogers, who puts in like over $3,000 worth of prizes. So basically you just buy your tag, and even if you donate just $1, they kind of do a stamp on your tag, and if you catch a fish with the tag, you just bring the tag and the tag from the fish, your tag that's been marked that you made a donation, and they give you a raffle ticket, and they'll draw tickets Sunday for some of the prizes that go out. So and then, as I said, after that, the 21st of October, again, American Legion Post. So we have one fishing event in October. and fly tying. If we guys want to try to sneak out, we can as well. Because I know we like to fish. So if there's any day you want to try to go, let me know. Especially if you want to, not that most of us keep any anyway, but this weekend is October and that's the last month for catch and keep if you wanted to just stock any up in your freezer for the winter. Project Heating Waters Omaha Zoom meeting. They're up and running Thursdays, same time as we do. So if you enjoyed their meetings before, they're up and running. So their meeting ID and passcode is on my email as well for our group. So I think that's everything program wise. Does anyone have any comments, questions on any of that before we get into the fly tying? All right, Jim, it's all yours. Go for it, and I will spotlight for everyone. It's all you.
Okay, so like Mick said, I'm going to tie the fox squirrel nymph. It's a Dave Whitlock fly, and he claims that if he had one fly to fish, this would be the one that he would fish with. I came to it by way of a lot of the fishing that I do are for the wild trout here in Missouri. Most of the fish you catch with the wild trout, they're very small, 6 to 8 inches on average. Catch 4 inches. Okay, you'll catch bigger fish, but usually you'll catch smaller fish. And I don't know if it's because they're wild and they're cagey or they're skittish or they're small. I don't know why they do this, but these fish can be absolutely maddening with, I call it that they become very peckish and they will peck at the fly rather than take it and bite on it. And you'll get hit after hit after hit and you won't get a hookup. And I used to fish woolly boogers. The blueback booger was one of my favorites. And then I went on to start fishing the mohair leech. And I would make the tails really short because, again, I'd get peck after peck after peck and never get a hookup. And on one of those days when I was getting a little frustrated, I just got out my fly box. I didn't even know what I was looking for. I mean, I'm looking for inspiration is what I'm looking for. And I opened up the fly box and I had bought some of these fox squirrel nymphs, and I don't even remember where or whatever, but I'm sure the guy in the store said, hey, we've been having a lot of good luck with these. So I bought some and they have a real short tail. I thought, okay, I'm going to give it a try. And sure enough, I started catching fish. I mean, it wasn't like I was catching all my bites or whatever, but I was catching them a lot more often. And strictly because the tail is so short, they would have more of a tendency to hit the fly and not just the tail. So there are tons of variations on this fly. Even Whitlock ties them. He'll tie them with rubber legs. He'll tie them long. He'll tie them short. I mean, the original is pretty much tied as a nymph. So I'm sure he's fishing them like you would a regular nymph where you're, dangling it under a strike indicator and a dead drift or whatever. But because I'm basically replacing my woolly boogers, that's my modification. I'm tying them on the same hook as the woolly boogers, tying them on using the same weight as the woolly boogers. So they're a little bit longer and a little bit heavier than the regular ones. But I fish them just like I fish a streamer or even sometimes soft tackles where I cast it into the current and let it float downstream and strip it back and try to work it on both sides of the stream. And a lot of times I'll let out 4 or 5 feet and then I'll retrieve it back 2 or 3 feet and then let out another 4 or 5 feet. and just keep working it out. And I'll do that for 50, 60 feet if the current takes it. But it has been a very productive fly for me. So let's give the go to the close-up camera. So get this light a little bit better. So this is what it looks like. And so the hook that I'm using is a Umpqua. Umpqua 302, which is just basically your streamer hook. It's 4 extra long, 1 extra strong. For the weight, I'm using 30 thousandths lead. But probably should be using lead-free. I haven't quite gotten to that point yet. For the thread, I'm using Unithread Orange 6/0. If I was using I can't remember the name of the other thread, but if you were using the thread that was rated in denier, I would use 140 denier. For the rib, I'm using extra small pearl flat tinsel. For the tail, I'm using squirrel body. No, it's called. Here we go. Squirrel Body Pieces Natural Fox. So it's a piece of fox squirrel body, and it's a very short and fine hair. Some of it's shorter and finer than others. I have another patch that's really short and fine, so you might want to look at it before you pick it up. For the abdomen, Dave Whitlock started out making his own dubbing, and he would take probably I assume the hair off the stomach of the fox squirrel, and he'd mix it up with different synthetic dubbings and stuff like that to try to make something that's got a few guard hairs in it. It looks, as they say, buggy. And I actually tried that, and it didn't work for me at all. But Wapsi makes a mixture. It's called Dave Whitlock's SLF dubbing. So he's got a number of them, but the dubbing number 1, actually, I think this is probably dubbing number 2. I think I mismatched, marked them, because this is light, and this is probably number 2 and the abdomen, and this is number 1, and it's the thorax. So I think I just had those mislabeled, but that's the dubbing, and it's a coarse dubbing, and like I say, it's a mixture of squirrel hair and SLF dubbing. From what I understand, SLF stands for, it was a substitute for seal fur. I never tied with seal fur before, so I couldn't tell you how good a substitute it is, but that's what it is. And for a collar, he often uses like henback and different soft hen feathers. I use Hungarian partridge, mostly just because I tie all those soft tackles and I have plenty of it, and I have plenty on hand, so that's what I use. It's easy for me to use. So I'm going to start with our size 10 hook.
Are you fishing this under a strike indicator?
No, I'm not. Like I say, I fish it either like a streamer or a wet fly. I very, very seldom ever use a strike indicator. The water that I'm fishing is pretty shallow. I don't think I need to dead drift the fly. And honestly, if I have two things on my line, I'm going to have problems. I put a strike indicator on there, and I'm going to tie knots in it. It's like doing a hopper and a dropper. I cast them bolero style, where one, as the cast goes out, one fly goes one direction, the other fly goes the other direction, and by the time it hits the water, it's a big knot. So I don't do that stuff. I'm too lazy.
Is
So-
that a 3X hook?
This is a 4X.
Okay.
But I don't. 3X would work just as fine. I mean, it's just like a woolly booger. Some you can tie them in 3X or 4X, and I don't think it makes any difference. And again, Whitlock uses nymph hooks. So if you wanted to fish it like a nymph under an indicator, I would use a nymph hook. It's going to be a little shorter and stouter. So I'm going to do 11 wraps, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And again, this is lead. If I was going to put on lead free, I would probably make more like 13 or 14 wraps. At one point, I did a little research and came to the conclusion that lead free is about 80% the weight of lead. So just add another 20-25% of wraps on there. I'm going to start the thread. Keep the lead pretty close to the middle. I favor it towards the front just a little bit. Get the thread started, and I'll take my tag in and I'll hold it back, and I'll do like a spiral wrap to the back, and then I'll build a dam on the back and try to build it up so there is like a taper that transitions from the lead to the hook. And then I just go back and forth with spiral wraps, and that's just to keep the material from sliding down in between the wraps. Then I'm going to do another little dam in the front there, again, just for a smoother transition. And I'll cut off the tag end. And then for the tail, I'm going to take my little patch of squirrel hair and just a small tuft. And like I say, this squirrel hair that I have right here, it's fairly long, but it's got a lot of underfur in it. This other one, it's fairly short, but no underfur. So that's handy in a certain way, but it's easier for me to handle something that's long. So I take the long, and then I'm going to grab it by the very tips. I'm going to pull on it and pull that underfur out. So you can see there's all that underfur under there. So it's gone from a big wad to a very small wad here. Maybe flip it a couple of times if there's any loose stuff in there. And then the tail, I try to get it less than maybe 3/16 of an inch or something like that. Again, I want a short tail because of all those short strikes that I get on woolly boogers. I'm going to tie this down, bring it right back to the bend of the hook. Then I'm going to take my pearl tinsel, and it's extra small. So I actually cut off a piece and then I clip it onto a hackle plier. Otherwise, with an overhead fan, it'll just blow away. And it's very difficult for me to actually see. As a matter of fact, I don't have much light. If I put light on the fly, you can't see the fly, but now I can't see the tinsel. So I'm actually that's the way it works. But I'm looking at the picture on the screen, so I'm kind of doing this, like a remote operation. And then I have a little spring on the back of my vise back here. So I just take that tinsel and I'll put it through through that spring and hold it into place out of the way. Now I'm going to start dubbing, and I'll give that hook about a quarter of a turn, just so the thread is not sitting right on the point of the hook. And for years and years, I had a very difficult time trying to dub with a coarse dubbing like this is. But Craig at Hargroves taught me how to do it properly, and it didn't take. And then Amy, on one of her demonstrations, taught us how to do it again, and it finally took. And the key to me is to start out with just very few strands, the smallest bunch of dubbing that you can get your hands on. And it just, when I do that, it goes on very easily and it stays on, and you can add more if you want it thicker. So I'm going to make a loop of about maybe 3 inches, which will probably get us a little more than halfway to where I want to go. And then I'm going to start wrapping. What I'm looking for, hopefully, is a tapered body. So it's going to be thicker in the front and thinner in the back. And that's almost there, but I'm going to need a little bit more. So I cover about 2/3 of the hook with the lighter dubbing. And then I'm going to take my tinsel and I'm going to wrap that forward, a spiral wrap. And, I make them fairly close together. It would be like doing ribbing material on a nymph. And I'm not sure if he adds this for extra sparkle, or if that's supposed to represent the segments of a bug or whatever, but he puts it on, so I put it on. He also uses he'll use copper wire, gold wire. Again, like any fly, substitute, feel free to substitute and experiment and stuff like that. Then I'm going to take the dark dubbing. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to tease out just a little bit. I have a friend of mine that also has a hard time dubbing, especially with the coarse dubbing. And to watch him, he's got a death grip on that dubbing. Like if you press on it harder, it's going to stick better. And I can tell you from his experience, that doesn't work. You don't need to be heavy-handed with it. You just need to, like I say, just start with a small amount and twist it, and then it starts going on. And now for the collar, I'm going to grab a feather. It's a brand new cape. I expect this to last the rest of my life. I bought one cape probably 25 years ago, and I can still get a couple of feathers off of it, but if that one lasted me as that long, I figure this will last me forever. So I prepare it just like you would prepare it for a soft hackle. The feather, this one is one of the larger feathers. It's very long. I'm going to cut the end off because that's way too long. And then I'm going to take all the fuzzy stuff off the bottom here. And then I'm looking for fibers that are not quite as long as the shank of the hook. So let me take a look at that. And that's just about the length of the hook. If I go down a little bit here, maybe that'll be a little bit shorter. So yeah, that's a little bit shorter. So I am going to pull those longer fibers off. And then I'm going to take the tip and I'm going to brush back somewhere between maybe 3/8 of an inch of fibers. Somewhere between, 3/8 to, maybe a little shorter. And the only reason I am pulling that, the main reason I'm pulling that back is I'm going to go ahead and keep wrapping until that's all done. And if I only have a short section of feathers, that's going to make the collar more sparse. And then I'm going to take whatever's in front, and that's going to be my tie-in point. So I'm tying it in with a convex side facing me. It's not really a shiny side. I'm going to go ahead and tie that in. Then cut off the tip. Couple of more wraps so it doesn't come undone. And I'm going to put my scissors down. Normally I keep the scissors dangling from my thumb like this, so I don't have to keep putting them down and bringing them, picking them back up again. But these Hungarian partridge feathers are very brittle and they break very easily. So when I get to this point, I put those scissors down so I don't have any other things that are in my way. So I set up the feather so it's perpendicular to the hook. And then I take those fibers and I pull them straight back. Now these, on a big feather like this, it's very easy to do that. I can hold those. I start wrapping about halfway around. I can let them go. And then as they're coming up on the other side, I coax them back again. And every wrap is going to touch the wrap behind it. And I'm going to wrap until I have bare stem, which is right about now. So I'll tie that off. Cut off the stem. Clean it up a little bit, make a head. Do a whip finish. Cut the thread, again, just using the scissors as a knife. and that's all there is to it. And you know, like I say, I mostly fish it like a streamer. I fish it the same way I fish my woolly boogers. And so I guess it was last week, last week or the week before, I fished a section of the Little Piney that I had never fished before. And that was the fly of the day. So like I say, it's a very effective fly, and that's all there is to it. Pretty simple.
Very nice.
It looks very nice.
So you notice that I didn't use head cement. I have not been using head cement for a while. And I just thought, I don't know that you really need it. When you do a whip finish, I'm not sure that you need it. And so far, I haven't had any heads come apart because I didn't use head cement. So until I start having that problem, I think I'm going to not bother with head cement anymore.
The only thing that I've ever had with head cement that I usually do it with is when I do my nymphs, like the zebra midge and all that. If I catch a few of those, the teeth on the trout will start tearing them up and they'll unravel. And that's when I use head cement, I use it on the whole fly. So it's just not the head, but the entire body. And that's just because I've had so many times where after like I catch maybe 3-4 fish on a zebra midge, all of a sudden, you know, I think there's some kind of like seaweed or grass on it. And then I look and it's actually unraveling. So
yeah,
but
Yeah, you know, Jim, I'm not going to say I've made a concerted effort not to use head cement, but I know that I have tied and fished dozens of flies and that I've just neglected to put it on. But I think you're right. I think if you get a good whip finish, you know, starting from the eye and heading back towards the body of the hook and getting a good seated whip finish, I agree with you. I don't know that it's absolutely necessary. So
yeah.
well, like I said, this is a recent development for me. So, but if I start having heads come apart, I'll let you guys know. But until then, I'm not going to use head cement. This is my latest experiment.
It's
You
always
know,
good to try
I've
something.
never used head cement.
Really?
In 50
Really?
plus years of tying flies, maybe 3 times I've used head cement and I've never had one come untied.
Okay, well, there you go. That's that's a pretty good record.
That is.
well, I've got to use it, or otherwise I just look weird having clear nail polish in my fly
Sally
tying vest.
Hansen's, yeah.
My Sally
Yeah,
Hansen.
right there.
If I don't use it that way, it just looks
That's a good
weird.
point. I hadn't thought about that. That's valid.
Yeah, sure. What are the other guys going to say when they come down to your tying room and see your fingernail polish? Yeah.
Yeah, you know. So
Tweezers and nail
Yeah.
polish. Oops. So I don't have anything more other than that. I don't even have my camera set up yet. So anything going on else? Terry, you doing okay?
Let's hear from Paul.
Yeah,
curious
Paul, how you
about-
doing?
Say what?
How's fishing down under?
Oh, it's good. I haven't been for a long while. Every time I go, it's either the floods, the tides, or it gets too hot or it's too windy. It's been a while.
Oh, that's a shame.
We fish, I'm in Port Macquarie, so we fish saltwater and we have to go inland a bit to get your freshwater stuff. But then some of the herring on the brackish rivers and stuff, you fish with the nymphs and stuff.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
We're next month. I'm going to Gyra. It's about 3 hours from here, and they have all these lakes that they stock. And so I've been tying flies like crazy. My goal is to catch 10 trout on 10 different flies.
Oh, wow. That's cool. What kind of trout are they?
They're brown and rainbows.
Oh, that's cool.
So these with tailwater,
Sorry,
the water is it tailwater?
No, it's a dam, but it's fed by like a river, and they've dammed it up. They have about 7 different dams that they use, and they stock them. So you have to. There's some areas that are really good, and some that are and then the big problem now is the snakes.
Hmm.
This is the time of year in Australia where all the snakes are out now.
And you've guys
Because
got doozies
spring.
out there.
Early summer.
Yeah, you guys got some.
We
very
don't have
venomous
rattlesnakes. We got the other kind.
Yeah, I kind of
Um,
know some of them. I know like the taipans you guys have and all that, don't you?
we got. I think there's like 90 different species of poisonous snakes, something like that. But they're
Yeah,
different. It's a different kind. They chew, whereas in America they have fangs and they inject. And so when you get bitten here, everybody carries that. I haven't been bitten, but everybody carries an ace bandage, and all you do is wrap it, right up to your arm to keep it from spreading.
Spreading.
I always say, what do? You go to first aid courses, and they go, well, what do you do? Well, you jump up and scream and run around, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I know they have a lot of venomous stuff out there. It's like, seems like anywhere you go in Australia, something wants to get you.
That's it. I'm tying for Al later on, and I'm looking at all the invasive species, and like they bring stuff in to do something, and they brought these things called cane toads to protect.
Oh,
them,
yeah.
and to eat the cane beetle or whatever it was. Well, they didn't like the cane beetle, and so they grow like crazy. And the trouble with Australia is that there are no predators. We don't have any big predators, so everything, like they brought camels in years and years ago from Afghanistan, and they used that out in the outback. Well, now when they put the railroads through, they let the camels go and just let them go. Well, they're breeding, and now there's such a problem that they actually have to go out and cull them because they eat anything, and the big thing is that they drink all the water. Because they drink about 20 gallons of water. Friends of ours just come back. The guy went to a property and they culled 1,300 camels off the property.
Oh my
Wow.
Jeez.
I've seen pictures on the internet where the guys comes into the water and there's like 200 camels.
Wow. Never heard of that. I knew about the cane toads because when I was stationed in Florida, Homestead Air Force Base, which is south of Miami, they have issues with the cane toads out there as well. And when they would get too much around the base, they'd grab all the young airmen like us and they would give us gloves because they are poisonous and just throw them into a 55-gallon drum. We'd be up all night, throw them in a drum, and they would just go take them to a burn pit somewhere just because there were so many of these things and they're like huge. And so it was
like they brought the carp out too. The English people brought in deer, which got away, and now they're a problem. And they brought the carp in. Now they've got a virus that they can give the carp to kill the carp, but they worked it out that the decomposing carp would take all the oxygen out of the water and kill all the other fish anyway.
Oh man.
I used to go to one of the fishing clubs had what they called the carp bash, and you'd spend the weekend at this lake, and there'd be like 80 to 90 guys fishing on the weekend, and you'd catch 50 to 60 carp easy. If you didn't get 50, you're lousy fisherman because it wasn't really fishing, it was catching. And at the end of the day, end of the 3 days, there'd be just as many carp in the water in the lake as when we started.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
they've
then
got
what
a
they did
problem
is
here too. What was there?
they call it a carp bash because they gave you a big stick and you belt the crap out of the carp and throw it on the bank, and a couple of these 3 greenies, the old people with leather hats would come by and collect them, and then they make fertilizer out of them.
Yeah.
So what took you to? Are you a native or do you? Or
No. My first wife was Australian, and so after I got out of the Marines, we came here. I've been here 50 years.
Wow.
I live up in a place called Port Macquarie, which is about 230 miles north of Sydney.
Okay.
I live I call it an old people's farm. It's an over 55s.
I just
Never
bought
young.
into one of those.
Well, what's the exchange rate? Maybe I can retire to there.
Sorry?
I said, what's the exchange rate? Maybe I should just retire to Australia.
Exchange rate is really good. I get $220 Social Security in a US account. And that's what I buy all my stuff in online for. And it's like, if it's $100 here, it's $80 off of my account. Exchange rate is good. I'm on an Australian DVA pension.
What is that?
What's that?
The Department of Veterans Affairs, because the US is there, it's in Australia, and the Australians were at the same time in Vietnam, that I qualified for their pension.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Wow. So what'd you do all these 50 years after you
I
got
was
out?
a school teacher and basketball coach for
Oh,
30
cool.
years at
Wow.
a private school in Sydney, in Hornsby.
Yeah, my son and daughter-in-law spent a year and a half in Melbourne, and
Okay.
they loved it. We were afraid we were going to lose them. We really were wondering if they were going to come back, but they did. But they just loved it there.
Drive on the other side of the road.
Yeah,
That's the big thing when people visit. They almost have to be taught not to look you always look left. You got to look right, because it's
Yep.
before you cross the street.
Yeah, it's the same thing in England. You'd be surprised the number of pedestrians that get whacked in England as the Americans, especially because they look the
Yeah.
wrong way, walk right into a taxi cab.
Driving, when I've taken a couple of basketball trips to the US, and you're driving, you really got to concentrate on making sure you're on the right side of the road.
I did that when I visited the UK last November, trying to I should be a steering wheel on the passenger side, but that's just reversed for them. And then I got a kick out of it too, that, everything, I'm like, all right, everything's going to be metric, but in the UK, they still use miles per hour.
Yep.
So everything
Yeah.
else is, metric, but I'm like, that threw me off. It was like, all right,
We're on Medtronics here, metric. We're in metric system.
yeah. And I do like the
I
metric
I
system.
still think feet and inches, though.
Yeah.
You do both. Once you're in the military, you can do both. You
Yes.
can do meters, and you can do.
The thing that bothered me most about driving in England with a right-hand drive was I had to shift with my left hand.
Yeah.
And that,
oh wow, yeah, I never even thought of that.
and that bothered me a lot because you'd think that they would reverse the the standard H that you have. You'd think that they'd reverse that, right? No, they don't. They don't change anything with the transmission. So where in this country, first gear is toward
Close
you
to
and
you.
up. It's still now it's away from you and up.
And up.
You'd be surprised the number of times I put it into third gear trying to start up when I was over there. It drove me crazy.
I have a Ford Escape, and it's all pushed on the Australian side, but the hood latch is on the passenger side, so you got to go to the passenger door and open up to lift the hood up. It's not on the driver's side.
That's funny. Dave, how you been doing? We haven't seen you in a while.
Sorry.
I was asking
Oh.
Dave how he's been doing because we haven't seen
Shut
him.
up for a while.
I was on last week, but before that, I was down at Rockbridge 1 week, and then had my daughter come in from Baltimore, and so missed about 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah. So Rockbridge, that's
Yeah.
another trout park for us, Missouri, but it's not through the state, so it's pay to play, and you pay quite big for that one because the fish are nicer. So would you use the same stuff at like you would use at any of the Bennett Springs or anything, or is?
Yeah, I did well on woolly buggers, and then used crackleback and all the typical stuff. There was nothing really special, and even got out my spinning rod and used that.
Oh, cool.
Um, yeah, I had a articulated a lure on my spinning rod, and just about every cast something was attacking it.
Yeah.
So, but all the other guys in my group, they use spinning rods, and I converted one of them to try out to the fly rod. We were all packing up to go head back to the house. He's down there fishing with my fly rod, and he turns around looking for me because he caught a fish, and I'm long gone.
Oh,
And he didn't realize we were packing up. Yeah. So he got hooked on it.
That
yeah.
happened to me too. I took my father-in-law down Cheeseman Canyon many years ago, and I fished with him for an hour or so, and then I went on downstream, and he caught the biggest trout he'd ever caught in his life, and it's all catch and release up there. So he had to let the fish go, and there was nobody there to see it. He was so
Oh.
disappointed.
Mhm.
Yeah, Rockbridge, you're supposed to keep everything you catch, and then you pay by weight, uncleaned, head on, guts still on, $5.50 a pound. I think it was 2 years ago, someone pulled a 17-pounder out of there. So it was like a $98 fish.
Yeah.
But to catch a 17-pound trout, I'd like, here's 200. Just to be able to say I caught a 17-pound trout, it'd be like, yeah, money well
Yeah.
spent. But yeah, it's a neat place, and you could actually they got different places of rent, rooms and all that. It's supposed to be really nice. Unfortunately, Dave said, the dining lodge was, raved about, but I guess just like anything else, everyone's struggling right now to get good help. So, but yeah,
The beer was still good.
What's that?
The beer was good.
Beer's still good. The cigars are still good. So hard to mess those up. But Scott, how are you? You all ready for this Sunday?
Yeah, I'm just sweating a little bit.
Oh, I get it. It's you get those the nerves are up. It's like, oh my gosh, hope this goes through. But you'll have a bunch of us there, so we'll help you out where we can.
There's supposed to be 50 people that coming to fish, so
Cool, and we'll be there to help them. It's we'll have extra stuff, even if we have to put the fly stuff down and help others out there, especially the veterans. That's why we're out there. We'll help them out. So, but it'll turn out good. Events like that usually do. So we'll have fun. It should be a good time. So that's about it. I'm trying to think of, like I said, they're pushing our orders through, so I'm hoping we'll get to JB soon. That'll be good. Not too much else from headquarters hearing anything. So if I hear anything, I'll pass it along. We always have our regional call the first Tuesday of the month. So that will be on, what was that be? The 3rd, maybe, coming up in October. So if I get any new news, I'll pass it along to you guys.
Can
But
you stick around for a minute afterwards, Mick, so we can chat for a bit?
sure. Yep. So other than that, October is basically here. So again, catch and keep season is coming to an end. But the one thing I really look forward to is that second Friday in November, when the catch and release season kind of hits. And I love going out to Bennett. You guys know I have that little trout shack that has an extra queen size bed in there. So if you guys want to come join us some weekend, please let me know. We would love to have you guys come out. So I think that's
Uh,
it.
Ken House told me that we're supposed to start Jefferson Barracks. This, I'm sure this might change, but on the October 16th,
October 16th.
a
Cool.
Monday, of course.
So yeah, I'll have to get with him. Because I think the only thing
Is that what you heard, Dave?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, cool, because hopefully I'll get the materials by then, and then you guys will be set up. That should include the tying tools and materials. I still have a lot of stuff in the storage. If you guys want to come by and rate it, please do. You know, because there you're just basically trying to tie, you know, San Juan worms and kind of easy stuff. So if you guys want to come by and just grab what you need, please, you know, I'll get with Ken, and he's stopped by before, and I'll let him, you know, grab all the materials he needs.
Is that Dave Vetrano? Is he supposed to be at Scott's thing?
I could double check to see. Give me 2 seconds and I could fire that back up and see who's coming in.
Is that the new guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he signed up.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I'm checking to see the activities right now, and I could see who's signed up. Let me get there real quick. So I got Dave Scott, and we have Charles Hampton. I haven't seen him in a while for sure. But he wanted to join but didn't have a vehicle, and there was no way we could get to him. So we have a few declined, but still a lot that are just haven't RSVP'd yet.
What's for Union?
Yeah, for Union.
Well, no, I didn't get anything from.
I still asked them to change because they still have you at the other St. Louis
Yeah.
group, and they're still doing that. So I always try to get with you separately.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
I'm planning to go.
Yes. And I'll be going to, Margie's gonna be there too. So Walt has an RSVP, but I'm sure he's gonna be there. That's in his backyard, so.
Walt's got something else going on that weekend.
Oh, does he? Okay. All right, so we should have somewhere between 5 and 6 from our group showing up, you know, from what I see right now, so. Maybe a little
I'm
bit more.
still debating. I'm waiting to find out what
Yeah,
the plans are.
no worries. All right. I think I will call that, and then I'm gonna